Data 2.1, let's get dumb and let's install some dumb software. So we're going to go to dumbware.io, click on our dumb software, or just scroll down. Not a big scroll to have to click for that. And you can see all of the programs that they have. I'm going to try and install their most popular ones. So that'll include DumbDo, which is a to-do list, DumbKan, which is pretty similar, but kind of almost a better version of a to-do list. And then we'll scroll up and I'm going to do DumbPad, which is a notepad, which I believe Dave DB Tech uses, and that's kind of what got me interested in that. I actually use it quite often as well. And then we're going to install DumbAssets. Actually, I'm going to start with DumbAssets. This is probably my most used and favorite dumb piece of software. So I'm going to go down to where it says View Documentation. You can also try a demo if you're really curious as to what most of these do. Let's go to View Documentation. And then here are the instructions for, I don't think there's anything Synology specific, but let's go down to option 2, Docker Compose for dummies who like customizing. We're not going to do that much customizing, but we're going to copy all of this text here, starting from services and ending on env vars, environmental variables. Let's go back to our Synology NAS, not back. This is the first time we're doing it. Let's go to our Synology NAS, and then you want to click on Container Manager, which if you do not have, click on the Package Center, type in Container Manager, and it should show up. If it's not showing up for you, that means it is not available on your model of Synology NAS, but maybe take a look around, see if anyone has gotten it to work on your particular model. We're going to click on Project, Create, and then the first one we're doing is DumbAssets. So I'm going to type in dumb/assets. You can actually name this whatever you want. You could call it DumbPad and really confuse yourself. Don't do that. Just call it DumbAssets. Path, we're going to set the path. Once you have Container Manager, it should create a Docker share. So that's typically where I like to keep this stuff. We're going to open up Docker and create a new folder called DumbAssets. I'll hit Enter and then select to save. And then for source, we're going to create a docker compose.yaml file. So this docker compose.yaml file is just a text file filled with the text that we just pasted in from right over here from the Docker Compose section of DumbAssets. And you can tell it'll live right here in the Docker DumbAssets folder. That is where this is going to live. We just need to make a couple of modifications. So the way that environmental variables work get a little bit confusing here, but basically you can make changes after this colon. You can just delete all of this and then type in a port or whatever. There is a little bit of confusion on here. I would say that this is a little bit more of an advanced setup. So I'm going to walk you through the easiest way of doing it. I'm going to delete a lot of these, including port. So port, node_env, debug are going to go away. We can keep a site title. Why not make it a site title? So we'll call this VD21 assets. There we go. Capitalize VD so it looks good. Oh, V20. You know what? V21's fun. Base URL, I'm going to get rid of that. A DumbAssets pin. If you want to add a pin number, you can add that here. And I think it can be more than 4 digits, but just go with whatever you want. Let's do 2121. But if you don't want a pin at all, you can completely delete that. So that's up to you how secure you really need your DumbAssets to be. I'll add it in here just so you can see it. I'm going to delete allowed origins, appraisal, URL. I'm going to delete that. All right, so I only have these 2 variables. You don't need any though. You could, if you want, delete that entire part and be fine. But once I click next, we should be good to go, except I want to make one change. That is ports. Ports will be how we access all of these Docker containers. So a Docker container is basically like a kind of a mini virtual machine. I know some people hate me for saying that, but that's sort of what it is. And the way that you are going to access this is by going to however you access your NAS, you probably do the IP address of your Synology NAS, and then colon, and it'll be the port number that we put in here. So let's just say that we want this to live on port 2101. Volume data 2.1, and then 01 after that, and I'll just go sequential for the rest of the dumb software. This second port number, leave that alone. That is for the Docker container itself. You don't have to worry about that. We're just curious about the first one. Second, I don't know why earlier I said that we're ready to go. We were not ready to go. We need to make a data folder. So you can see here it creates a folder /data before the colon. Just like with ports, don't worry about what happens after the colon. That is for Docker. This container is going to want to hook up to a local folder. So let's make that. Let's go into File Station. We'll go to Docker, DumbAssets, and we are going to create a data folder. Now, that is good enough. I'm going to do this for you. You don't have to follow along, but I'm going to right-click, click Properties, and copy the location. I'll click Cancel. I will exit out of here. So I'm back in a Container Manager. So this ./data is basically saying, hey, I'm looking for a folder called data wherever I live. And in this case, it's wherever the Docker compose.yml file lives, which is under Docker DumbAssets. It'll create that file there. So you can leave this as is, and that is my preferred method because if you ever wanted to move around Docker containers, that makes it much easier. But this is the same thing as this. That ./data is the same thing as putting in this entire folder location, because this is where that YML file lives. I'm going to get rid of it, but hopefully that sort of clears that up. Sorry if that's a little confusing. Now we are ready to click next, next, and then start the project once it is created. We'll click done, and that should work. That should get you through some of these dumb bits of software. Let's see if this works. We set the port number to 2101, so this is how I access my Synology NAS. Through 192.168.8660. Yours is probably 192.168.1. something. Or maybe you're just using the name of your Synology NAS. However you access it, this should still work. We'll type in 2101 at the end, and then we're gonna get an error. I'm gonna hit enter. But I want you to see this. The reason that we're getting an error is because we typed in HTTPS. We actually need to just type in HTTP and it will work. And here we go. V21 assets, I forgot the D. And then I'll just type in the pin that I made, which was 2121. And we are now inside DumbAssets, which is an awesome program. If you ever needed to make a list of all your belongings for, I don't know, insurance purposes or whatever, this is a great one. You can track your warranty status on stuff that you have, see upcoming maintenance events like, oh, I need to change the filter in my fridge or the filter in my, I don't know, in my little Evapolar desk cooler because it's 80 degrees in my apartment. That is something that you can do here. Even upload manuals, which is pretty nice. So, if you have a motherboard manual that you need to access once every month, but you forget how to do it, you can go in here. You can just attach it to there and you are set. So that is DumbAssets. Let's install some of the other guys here. Let me go back, and I said we were going to do DumbPad. We're going to do DumbPad last because that one's a little bit tricky, and I'll show you why. Let's do DumbKan. View documentation, and you're probably thinking, let me just do what I did before. Oh no. This one's a little bit different. We're going to scroll down to where it says Docker recommended. You'll notice there is no Docker compose. So we need to make a change here. What we want is sort of, I think it's just called the Docker run command right here. This is, I don't want to say the old way of running Docker containers because plenty of people still do it this way, but it is sort of preferred to use Docker compose when you can. So we can edit this command here. Let me just copy this entire command. Make sure you have everything selected. Click copy. And then, very easy, you can go to a site called Composerize. Is that what it's called? Composerize.com, I believe. Yes. Type in your entire Docker run command here, and it will give you an output. And you can see it's got everything here. Another way you can do it, if you're on the AI bandwagon, you can say, hey, AI, turn this into a Docker compose, and then write the run file. Send that message and it will do it. Check it out. This is locally hosted. I'm using Mistral. That's right. Let's see what it spits out for us. I typically like the ones that this one uses a little bit better. All right. Actually, I would say the other one might work a little bit better, but I don't care. I'm going to copy this and you're going to have to deal with it. Let me see here. This one writes it a little bit better. You know what? You're probably going to do it this way, so I'll copy this one. Let's go back. We're going to use the Composerize section. Actually, I need to go back to my Synology NAS. Back in my Synology NAS. All right. Let's go to Container Manager. We're going to Project, Create, and then the project name here is going to be DumbKan. And then for the path, let's set a path. Docker, create a folder, DumbKan. Am I spelling that right? Is there an H in there? I think there's an H in there. Is there an H in there? No, there's no H. All right, I was right the first time. DumbKan, okay. And then select, we will create a Docker compose.yaml, and let's type in what we had before. We're going to delete this first line that says name. We just need services. If you happen to copy in your AI one, it probably says version up top. You don't need that anymore with Docker containers, even though I think Synology is running an older version of Docker, but typically you can just delete that. It will throw an error if you do it in a modern day, like Ubuntu version or something. I'm sorry, if you have a modern version of Docker, it'll throw an error. Won't do anything, it's fine if it's there, but it'll let you know that that's wrong. Let's go back here, and then there is this env file. We're going to delete this env file. And then under volumes, we want to change this to just say /data like we did with the other guys. So let's go into File Station and we will go to Docker, DumbKan, and create a new folder called data. If you don't create this folder now, it's going to throw an error when you try and create the Docker volume, or I'm sorry, when you try and launch this project, it'll throw an error. Just go back, create that folder, run it again, and it will be good to go. Last and not least, we want to change the port number. I'm going to change this to 2102. And the reason I don't want 3000 is a very common port number, so a lot of applications want to use that, so I recommend against using it. And just like before, We're only changing the number before the colon, and we're only changing the folder before the colon under volumes. I'm going to click next, next, and done, and it will start this project. Once it is created, we'll get exit code 0, which is good. So let's go to the IP address of our Synology NAS, 2102, and we've got DumbKan going. Things to do, make a podcast, but not every 3 weeks, every 1 week. You idiot. All right, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to. I'm not forgetting to do the podcast. I keep trying to do a video and then running into issues. And I'll show you the issue with DumbPad. So we've got that going. DumbKan is up and running. If you wanted to add any of those env variables, for example, so we can see down here in the DumbKan documentation, there is a section called environmental variables. You can add a port. I would recommend not doing that, but you can also add a PIN number. So if you wanted to add a PIN number to your Kan, I would go back to my project. I'm going to right-click DumbKan and click stop, which is taking a lot longer to stop than I would think. All right, exit code 0, we're stopped. I'm gonna double-click DumbKan, go to YAML configurations, and we're back here. Let's just, this is sort of how it showed up before, right? You see this section called environment : let's add that back in, environment : return, and then I will just paste in that variable that I want. So in this case, it's DumbKan pin : space, and then I would just add a pin. So let's just say 2121. I would save, okay, it's gonna rebuild it, and this time it will have a pin. So let me go back here. I'm just going to refresh. I'm back to the IP address of my Synology NAS, : 2102. I'm going to refresh this, and now I have to enter a pin, 2121, and we're good. I will make a podcast. Stop bothering about it. I will do another news and self-hosting. So there goes DumbKan. We're all set there. Let's go back to our Dumb software, and I now want to install DumbPad, your last. DumbDo. Let's go to DumbDo, view documentation. I think this is a little bit the same as before. So you've got the 2 same environmental variables if you'd like. If you're following along, you should see if you can do this on your own without me though. See if you can do it, and if not, come back. But we will come here to using Docker, and then we don't need this first part where it says Docker pull. Don't worry about that. We just need this second part, the Docker run. All these lines will start on Docker run. This is why I wanted to run through a couple of them, because the documentation is slightly different for all of these. If I was a better person, I would write up my own documentation and submit it to them, but I'm a terrible person. We'll go to composerize. I'm going to paste that in, that Docker run command, and you can see it gives me everything that I need. I will copy this guy here and then go back to the Synology NAS. Let me close out of here. I'll click project, create. I want this to be DumbDo, I believe, and then path. We will go to Docker, create a folder. We'll call this DumbDo. Select, we will create a Docker compose and paste that guy in. I don't need names, so I will delete that, and I will make sure that service is on the first line. DumbDo ports, let's change this to 2103. Docker will not let you use 2 programs on the same port number. That is a big no-no, because the way that it has to access it is by going to the IP address of your machine, : the IP address of your service. And if 2 services are sharing the same port number, you can't really access them because there's no way of knowing which one you want. So that's what separates service from service, is this port number. Volumes, we will just put this in the data folder. So I'll put /data for what I want before the colon. I'll go ahead and create that folder. So I'll go to File Station, Docker, I don't need to create it. DumbDo is right here. Create a folder called data. And I will be good to go. I'll click next, next, start the project once it is created. And then we have DumbDo. So DumbDo should hopefully be one of the easier ones. Hopefully you were able to get it. I bet if you didn't get it, it was that Docker pull that tricked you, huh? You weren't expecting that. Also, make sure you're pulling the one that says pull from Docker Hub, not build locally. That is a different command. Although, yeah, actually they might be the same here. But building locally is a little bit of a different beast that I do not cover on here because it's a little bit trickier. Maybe one day I will though. Close, let's go to 2103. Whoops, not 02, 03. And there we go, we've got DumbDo. What needs to be done? Export this video before 2025 ends. Don't be so slow about it. And there we go. And let's just say that I didn't do it. Let me uncheck that. But here is the DumbDo list. Pretty cool, huh? I feel like some websites look a little bit better in light mode, but they feel a lot better in dark mode. Just way easier on the eyes. Maybe it's because sometimes they use gray, but like the Dumbware, they use that dark purple. I like that. I like that dark purple. That feels really good. Although they mix it with the dark gray. Whatever. Let's go back to the last one, and that is the trickiest one, and it's one that is very popular on here, and that is going to be DumbPad, and I'll show you why it's a little bit tricky. Took me a little bit to get this and why I was delayed by a week on releasing something. Let's click View Documentation. DumbPad, which is one that I believe Dave DB Tech, is that his name, uses? Oh man, let me get this right. Dave DB Tech. I think his name is Dave. A couple of dumb apps. Look at, he's got a whole live stream on this. Yeah, he kind of got me into using DumbPad. I didn't think it was something that would be useful, but I actually do like using it for a couple of offhand notes. So it's pretty nice. But we'll scroll down here to Docker Compose. That's exactly what we want, right? We can skip the step of having to try and make one on our own. And then let's copy all of this. We'll go back to our Synology NAS, create, we'll call this one DumbPad, path, set path, Docker, create folder, what am I calling this? DumbPad, that's what it does. DumbPad, select, create a Docker compose.yml file. I will paste in what I had before. We're gonna run this like we did before, but we are gonna get an error. So this will be 2104, data is fine. Environmental variable, this one's a little bit simpler. It's got what you need here. You can ignore base URL, but if you want a pin, you can add it. If you don't want the pin though, you can either delete the sign or you can put a pound sign in front of it and that disables that line, which I'm gonna do right now. And that should be, I'll do VD21 DumbPad right here. We are going to change this guy right here, port 2104. Okay, I think this will work. I'm gonna uncheck base URL also because I think that might mess me up. Okay, so I've got basically everything that I need. I'm gonna click next, start the project once it is created. I should make that data folder, right? Let's go ahead and make that data folder. File station, Docker, DumbPad, create new folder, data. I'm gonna come out of here, exit out. All right, so I'm back here. Start the project once it is created. I'm going to click done and it will do that. I already pulled all these containers. That's why it's going so quickly. I'll show you how to do that after this. I will click close and then project DumbPad was successfully built, but we're going to get a lot of errors because it's going to stop unexpectedly. This took me a little while to figure out that there is an error here. If I go to container, sorry, let me go to project and DumbPad is what's failing us. So we'll double click DumbPad and then under containers, I will click DumbPad. And then I will click log, and I can see what's going on here is I'm getting this error code E-access, I think. Error, I want to say this says error number -13, but a lot of this code is over my head. I'm not a coder. So I was able to figure this out, and it was on DumbPad's site. Let me see here. If I type in DumbPad, error -13, E-access. All right, so we're at dumbware.io's DumbPad GitHub. I'll go to issues, and then I can see it right here. Where is it? Yeah. Container restarts with EA error. That's what I was getting. And their recommendation is to do a chmod -r a+rw in that same directory. I believe, I'm not a programmer, I'm not a security expert or anything like that. So just have a little bit of caution with listening to me on something like this. But this is basically saying change the folder permission so all users can read and write. So let's go to our Synology NAS and we can do that. Let's go to Container Manager. Project, let me just make sure that DumbPad is off. Okay. If you can click stop, go ahead and do that. But instead, we'll go to File Station, Docker, DumbPad. Actually, let me go back. DumbPad is what I want. I'm going to right-click DumbPad, and then I'm going to click Properties. Oh, you're still going. Stop it. I'm going to go to Properties, Permissions. I'm going to create a permission, and it is going to say, hey, everyone is going to allow to read and write to this folder. And when I'm going to click done and click apply to this folder, subfolders, and files, so that'll make sure that it hits that data folder, and I'll click save. Now, let's go to Container Manager, Project, DumbPad. We're going to click Start, exit code 0. Hopefully this works. Let me double click DumbPad real quick. YAML configurations, we wanted this at 2104. Let's see if that worked. All right, it's not starting up, so I'm gonna go to, oh no, here it goes. Okay, container, DumbPad is up, project, DumbPad is green. All right, let's see if that, sorry, that took a minute and I was about to try something else, but it actually went up on its own. I was gonna go to container, right click and stop it and restart it, but it looks like it managed to do it on its own. Clicking on project, we can see that it's green. So now if I go to port 2104, DumbPad is up. So there you have it. That is how you install the DumbPads on your Synology NAS. Hopefully with that, you are able to install any future DumbPads that you want. And if you're looking at other Docker containers that have a Docker Compose, hopefully this gives you a little bit of direction on how to install those on a Synology NAS using Container Manager. Container Manager is probably the easiest way of doing it. You could also get real deep in there and just use command line, but that's for another day. That is how I typically run Docker containers, but I do that on an Ubuntu server. So good luck to you. Hope you're able to install all these guys.